I have kind of come to discover that um, my YouTube videos about relationships tend to get not necessarily a good amount of views, but they do tend to get like good interaction. I get some comments and stuff like that. Sometimes friends can be sort of like spouses. Um, in a way, you could almost say that sometimes it's sort of like you're married to your friends. So, what was I saying? So, I need to quit digressing like that. So, it's sort of like you're kind of in sort of a marriage with your friends. I'm talking about kind of good, more long term friends here. Um, which also isn't a very good term to use. This will all make more sense in a few minutes, I think. But um, I, what I'm trying, so friends can sometimes be a lot like spouses in that things can change. Um, and when things in a friendship change, um, it can be awkward. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that um, it's either of you guys' fault, you people's fault. Um, Maybe one of you takes on another job, or gets married, or has a kid, or your schedule changes. You just don't have the same amount of time that um, you had for each other before. Um, maybe you lived with this particular friend. Um, I've certainly been there with a couple of friends of mine. Um, and once you moved out of that situation, life just kind of went on. Um, it's kind of different when your home is where your friend is, and you're going to work and then back there. But when you start going to work and then back home, it's not like you have any more time. So there are reasons like that a friendship could change. Um, and that's normal. It can be difficult. Sometimes you find time for each other down the road when you get used to the situation that's changed. Sometimes you don't have as much time as you used to, especially if like family and kids become part of the equation. But you know that that uh, it's that happens. It's like I heard a statistic somewhere. I can't remember where I heard it. Where it was like you lose a certain percentage of your friends every 7 years. And marriages, a lot of marriages go south after 7 years, or intimate relationships go south after 7 years. They don't call it the 7 year itch for nothing. My relationship with my soon-to-be ex-wife uh, lasted right around 7 years. We were married for about four of it. Um, Now, uh, so people growing apart is normal too. There are all kinds of differences between people. You know, you can start to vary politically and things like that. I am not. I might fall a bit left of center a lot of the time, but I kind of consider myself a centrist politically. I do feel very conservative about certain things, and then I feel very liberal about other things. There's another kind of aspect of this too. Um, Sometimes you just quit getting along. Uh, Maybe you've overstayed your welcome a bit. For example, maybe your friend was fine with you living with them for, like 6 months, and now here down the line it's, a year and a half or whatever. And as much as they like you, they don't really want anyone living with them. They were trying to help you out. Um, and things like that can create a little bit of animosity, right? And it's hard to it's hard to place blame on anyone in that. You took the person in. That person, things didn't maybe work out exactly the way they thought or expected or wanted or something like that. And things are just you know not not good between the two of you at that time because of that. Sometimes, if you do find a way to manage to move out, and kind of get your own thing going, that can kind of heal a little bit. Sometimes the distance is sort of healthy in a relationship. Um, there's another situation that has happened with a couple of um, a couple of my uh, associates. That's what I refer to them as now. Um, there was a guy, for example. Well, I guess I'm going to try and not be real particular about it, but um, there sometimes, like you're in a bad situation and somebody helps you out, right? And like 15 years down the line, they're still holding that over your head. Now, I don't take real kindly to people like continually bringing shit up that happened 15 or 20 years ago when I was like a completely different person, right? Neither of us should be the person now that we were then if people change. Um, Now, if that person's life is more stable than yours, they may not. Um, but I feel like I've done kind of a lot of changing over the last couple of decades, and I just don't. I just. It's like you shouldn't be held prisoner by a bad situation you were in, and if people are really your friends, they call you more than once a year when they're in a drunken stupor and feeling nostalgic. You know, if you have friends that do that, it can be very frustrating because it's like, why are you uh, why are you always calling me not very often in this situation? And you know, there was another associate that let me he when I was homeless, I was straight up homeless for a 4 year period. Off. Now, when I say homeless, I mean a lot of times I had a couch to sleep on. A lot of times I slept outside. Uh, I stayed at a shelter for a while. But I was in a state of not having a place of my own, and sometimes not having a roof over my head at all. And yes, you are seeing that. This is a pretty. There we go. The entertainment for the night. Anyway, this guy, he came and got me one night, and he did come a long way. Okay, he took me to his house, let me have a meal and a shower, and then took me back to my town and dropped me off at the mall or whatever. And I was very thankful of that. But again, this is literally like 2009, 2010, something like that. Uh, this was a long time ago, and it just seems like he wasn't speaking to me very often, and when he did, we weren't really kind of getting along, and and that would always be brought up. Like, I thought, like, when I helped you out that time 15 years ago, it's like, well, dude, thanks for that. Thank you. But you can't just continually hold that one thing over my head, you know? Um, and like I said, if somebody doesn't contact you very often, and they only seem to do so when they kind of miss the old times, then I don't know if you can quantify that person as a friend. Um, so, uh, what basically I kind of do, I've kind of over the last few years done a little bit of a purge. If I find someone to be kind of the other thing is you just shouldn't put up with disrespect. If people aren't going to put up with it from you, you don't put up with it from them. And people that disrespect you can just be out of your life. You know, and I find like a lot of the things that people do to each other somewhat disrespectful. I've never been like one of those Texas guys who basically insults the shit out of you, and I'm just kidding. Those people aren't kidding. They thought of it. Um, um, I'm not religious at all, but but Jesus Christ basically said that you don't get to just say you believe and then get forgiven. I know a lot of people think that. What he really said is believing is doing. Okay, so if those things were really no problem to do for me in a time of need, then they wouldn't be bringing it up all the time. Uh, so basically, if just purge your friends list in Facebook is what I'm trying to get at. Just purge the damn thing. Tell people you're gonna do it even, right? Just purge the shit out of the thing, and the people who not crawl back, but the people who come back are your friends. Okay, potentially. Um, but I had to come to a realization a couple of weeks ago also that all the people I really have as friends right now are either like considerably older than me, 20 years older than me, 30 years older than me, or 10 or 15 years younger than me. Uh, and the people that are younger than you probably find you difficult to associate with all the time anyway. Um, but in that way, um, friends can very much be like spouses. You know, when it doesn't when it seemingly doesn't work out anymore, or you're not benefiting each other anymore, or you don't have anything to talk about or any more common ground, it is okay for things to just go by the wayside. You know, hell, you might even reconnect in 10 or 15 years, or something like that. Now, the other thing is, if you're going to conduct your friendships that way, you can't exactly go run into these people whenever you need help. You know, if you can't pay your rent, then you don't go run into the guy you purged from your life. You go running to rental assistance in town, or you know, uh, ask somebody who's a little more steady friend, or something like that. Um, and it can be difficult. There's another friend of mine. who's considerably older than me, um, and we had a bit of a we've had a bit of a disagreement here and there over our friendship. We've known each other about 10 years. Um, this guy told me when my wife was going to leave me. This guy told me that I deserved to get left. Um, and that was very hurtful. Regardless of how correct or incorrect it was, that just wasn't what I was needing to hear at that time. I was looking for support and a person to talk things out with, and all I got was a huge amount of tough love that I didn't feel. The whole tough love thing is never um, kind of worked well for me. Neither has overly motivational stuff. I don't believe you manifest anything with your mind. Hard work and effort is generally what gets you places in your life. Uh, and a real friend you can disagree with. You know, you can disagree with a real friend, and they're not going to gun you down in some civil war because you don't agree with them. Sort of like a lot of the shit that seems to be happening now. The world has a very April 29th, 1992 kind of feeling to it right now, and that kind of stuff is very scary. Uh, but you should be able to disagree and just kind of get back on to being friends. Um, if you guys don't don't agree politically, for example, you should be able to talk it out. You should try your best to see the other side of the fence, if you can. Kind of try and see it from their point of view, and at least like try and understand where they're coming from. If you can't, then that's fine. Just you tell them that. A really good friend also respects your wishes. Don't call me when you're fucking drunk, and talk to me be on the phone for an hour, and you've done 57 minutes worth of talking. Don't like don't do that, right? If you're gonna call me and do that, then you know uh, don't. I can do without it. If if tough love's not your thing, you should be able to say, "Hey, man, this just doesn't work for me," and they should say, "Hey, okay," and not be upset because you've politely asked them to stop. But a couple of a friend or two I have stopped hanging out with for like a year. I just it wasn't necessarily not just that we disagreed, but also I might have like started another job. My situation might have changed. I may have needed to put a little more time into my marriage because it was having trouble or what have you, and we just had to take a break. And if you need to take a break from each other, that's fine. That is not necessarily ending your friendship. Just like, hey, I'm probably gonna just spend the next couple weeks trying to get my head together. And again, somebody should, a good friend should say, okay, I get it. Um, Now, this is of course just my opinion, right? Um, but you know, uh, if a friendship's going to end, it's not the end of the world. It is unfortunate. It can be very sad. Um, I often bail on my friends once they get married. I've had friends bail on me when I got married. A lot of my friends, like once they have kids, of course, my brother is an exception, but a lot of my friends, like once they have kids, it's like, because regardless of how I feel about children, I'm not necessarily trying to hang out with this person to help them babysit their kids, and a lot of times that's kind of how it feels. I hate to sound insensitive here, but if I wanted children in my life on a consistent basis, I would have them, and if I felt comfortable like taking care of and watching children, um, I, I'd do that for a living or something. I'd be a babysitter. Uh, you know, you guys might not be able to vibe like you did before, and it's okay. It's okay. Because, like I said, if you're gonna bail on the occasional friend, you're gonna have the occasional friend bail on you, and it is not a reflection of anything but of how human relations work. That also doesn't mean that that person can't still be an associate, and you guys can't do something a couple times a year. And if that's going to be the case, you guys will figure it out. Um, Goeman Ronan, signing out. Please like and subscribe if you found this useful in any way. Uh, Good night.